again, this is Deborah Kitko with the Wayne County Public Library Genealogy and Local History Department. We've started a short series on how-tos, where they're just a series of short clips in terms of how to actually do little basic things within genealogy. Last time we met, we actually talked about just gathering up the materials that you actually need, such as erasers and pencils and some notebook paper and some other types of information, other types of sources like that. Well, today we're going to go take a look at two very important tools for all researchers, no matter if you're just at the novice level or if you are at the more advanced level. These two forms are the 5-generation ancestor chart and the family group sheet. Now, these are just tools, and we recommend you use pencil when you're filling them out. There are a few sites that you are able to fill them out online. However, I haven't found one that actually is very good. We've experimented with a couple of them. So if you happen to find one out there that you can actually fill in the ancestor chart and the family group sheet online and be able to keep all of your information and save it, let us know here at the library. We'd definitely appreciate it. So when you're filling out the ancestor chart, it's just this is a 5-generation chart, and you usually start with yourself here as number 1, and you fill in what information you know, such as your birth date, your place of birth, if you're married, and your place of marriage. Number 2 is for your father's information. Number 3 is for your mom's information. Number 4 and 5 would be your dad's parents. Number 6 and 7 would be your mom's parents. And what you do, you just sort of fill this in as much as you can, including the dates, the places, the date of birth, the place of birth, the marriage date, the place of marriage. If they're deceased, you include that and where they passed away. And you just continue to fill this in. Some of you may only go 2 generations back. Some may be able to go 5 generations. However, if you're able to go to a 6th generation, say, for example, you have this whole line filled in up here, and you do have the parent of number 16. Number 16 now becomes number 1 on Ancestor Chart number 2, and you just start the whole series over again. This one just focuses more or less on the biological line, or if you were actually trying to research your adopted line, that's fine, or if you're a youth and if you just know your stepfather and your mom, or your stepmom and your father, then you can just fill this out accordingly. There's other forms that you can find online that adjust for those type of family units. Find what form is best for you. The other one is the family group sheet. And this one focuses just more or less on the direct lineage. This one will focus on individual family units. And when I say family unit, I mean a father, a mother, and the children. And once again, you have the same type of format that you actually include what information you know, such as the birth date, the place of birth, the marriage date, the place of marriage, the death date, and the place of death. On this form, however, there are some additional spots for you to fill in if you know the information. For example, you have a place that gives the cause of death. If you have someone who's married more than once, you can include the other spouses here, their names here. And I usually include not only the name, but I also include if they're like the second marriage or the third marriage or the first marriage. And then I include the date if I know that, just as a source, as a reference point. There's also a place that you can include an occupation, and a place you can include the religion, the church affiliation, and that may become more important as you get further back in doing research. Now, this form does not necessarily include a place for your source citations, but like I've talked in some other YouTube videos, it's very important to actually have documentation as you're going through. But we can look at some other sources for that at a later point. So you fill in the father's name, the mother's name, and their information, and down here you list the children. You want to start from the oldest child and go to the youngest child. And you want to include those you can even include those that were stillborn, those that died as a young child, that died as an infant. You want to include all known children within this family group sheet, whether they're living or deceased. This particular one only goes to 10. I know some families have more than that. We have another form in our department that you can actually record up to 15 kids, or you can always include it on the back and continue the chart actually on the back side of this paper. A couple things to note when you are filling out these ancestor charts. If you put in the date 6/11/20, how do you know what date that really means? Now, in modern time, you would think that this would be June 11th, maybe 1920. But how do you know that it's not November 6th, 1820? So what you want to do when you're doing genealogy is the standard way that we do is you include the day and then the first 3 letters of the month and the 4-year digit, because you may be in 1620, 1720, 1820. You're going to cover several centuries worth, so you want to make sure that you're clear so it doesn't confuse you and it doesn't confuse other researchers who may be helping you along. The other item of importance is to include the surnames in all capital letters. For example, if you have a family group sheet and if you put John Arthur down with the last name all in caps, that's going to make it clear to not only you but to others that this is the surname and not a possible middle name. Because as you're going through research, you're going to discover that a lot of times the parents would name their kids and give their middle name as the maiden name of the mom or the maiden name of a grandmother or something to that sort. So if you can actually remember to include all caps in the surname to distinguish between surnames and middle names, that would be awesome. Not only it will help you tremendously as in your research to tell the difference at a glance in terms of what you're looking for. Now this is I've been recently working on a project here at work, and this is just one example of a family of a 5-generation ancestor chart. And this one, I have a Joseph Fisher who's born 1866, and I have the father and I have the mother, but as you see, I don't have any other information. And that's okay. Remember, this is just a snapshot tool when you're doing your research. This sort of helps point out what information you have and what information you need to try to find. Now, sometimes on some of these forms, you may have to abbreviate like the places. For example, you may, if you have someone born in Worcester, Wayne County, Ohio, you maybe only fit in Worcester, Ohio on this form. And that's okay because on the family group sheet, you can expand and actually include the county as well. Now with this particular family, Frederica Goltz was the mother, and she was married twice. So I'd want to fill out a family group sheet for both of her marriages because she had kids by both marriages. So, for example, I'd want to fill out a group sheet for, let me find the right folder here. So this would be the group sheet for Joseph Fisher Sr. And this shows that he was married to Frederica, and it shows that they had 2 kids by this marriage. Now, I'd want to fill out a separate family group sheet for Baltzar Birla for the first marriage. And I'm going to actually have a couple of these. I had to fill it out, and we can actually take a closer look at it with this YouTube video. So it's important when you're doing the family group sheets that you fill it out not only for each family unit. And even if you have someone who's been married 2 or 3 times, you'll want to fill out a family group sheet for each of those marriages, even if they didn't have any kids in that marriage. If they have no kids during that marriage, you can always put down here no issue, which is a short way of saying that there's no kids. Or you can always put no kids, either way you want to go. So with this particular case, she had 5 kids by her first marriage, 5 or 6 kids by her first marriage, and 2 by the second marriage. And I've actually filled out, I mentioned about having little folders, because I was trying to do extensive research on this individual's family. I have a separate folder for each of the family groups. And so I have a folder here for a Joseph Fisher, one for Frederica Virla, who had been a daughter, not to be mixed up with the mother. And I have one for each of the other kids as well. So this is just a way how you can actually help keep yourself organized as well. And especially if you start early being organized, because there's nothing worse than having a pile of paper that later on down the road you have to try to sort through and remember which family that piece of paper goes to. So if you can actually start organized and stay organized, it would cut down a lot on, save a lot of time. So that's just the basics of looking at the ancestor chart and the family group sheet, and a couple of things in regards to the proper way to write the date in genealogy and how you should actually include the surnames. So if you have any questions of any sort, please feel free to contact our department at genealogy@wcpl.info, I-N-F-O. Or we are still taking phone calls at this point. You can contact us at 330-262-0916 and just choose the option for the genealogy and local history department. So I hope this helps out in terms of trying to cover some basics. Until next time, go ahead and fill out those ancestor charts and pedigree and the family group sheets and see what questions you may have. Thank you.